They're so loud.
Why did you speak and then hit record? Delete that and let me speak. Just say nothing. Delete it. Say nothing.
Make me.
I don't know how it works. I'm gonna press enter. Hello and welcome to Accessory to Thought. We thank you for tuning in today, and today's topic is morality and the conscience. The quick definition of morality, according to Google, is principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good and bad behavior, a particular system of values or principles of conduct, or the extent to which an action is right or wrong. And Google's definition of the conscience, a person's moral sense of right and wrong viewed as acting as a guide to one's behavior.
Very fascinating.
Why did you do that?
Right, go on, Ben.
So,
You've had me at morality.
so what it is the difference between right and wrong. Josh, wouldn't you agree? Google says so.
Knowing the difference between right and wrong.
Knowing the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would say we would all share this standard of behavior. That's what C.S. Lewis calls it.
Right.
We all have a set principle, set moral standard of what we deem is acceptable to society or not. An example would be giving somebody a hug that you haven't seen in a very long time is acceptable. Giving that someone a kick is not acceptable to society anyway. So that would be a brief example of what would be the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Yep. So, a lot of people like to think that what right and wrong is a matter of belief and what makes the system work. But
Yeah.
I have a slight question for that. So, if that is the case, why do we make mistakes? Why do we make excuses when we make mistakes? Like, why do we feel like we have to apologize or give excuses for breaking that standard of behavior? Just tell a wee story. When I was younger, I would just steal a wee bun from the cupboard, and my mother caught me. So who's in the wrong? Clearly me. But why do I feel like I needed to make excuse going, oh well, I was hungry, or oh I just really, really wanted one and I couldn't wait to dinner? You know, why do we bring ourselves to, like, why do we not say, well, I thought it was right, I thought it's what I wanted to do?
Yeah.
If it's what I think is correct, and if you don't think it's correct, then you're the part of the problem. You know, that's not how a society functions.
So you're coming from the stance of, if morality is subjective to what you think is right, maybe at the time you could convince yourself, I want this cookie or bun, whatever you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
How am I gonna get it? And then part of you can plan, right, I'm gonna get the chair, I'm gonna climb up there and get it, but also part of the plan is, right, how am I gonna convince myself that I should be doing this?
Mm-hmm. When your conscience screams at you.
So if morality is a matter of subjectivity of how you want to live your life, I guess,
mm-hmm.
it's, if that's the definition, it's not a very stable basis.
Yeah.
Because obviously, one point in your life, you may have a different opinion on something, and then when you're older, you may have another opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way to be unstable, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And also, even just on a daily basis, if you can convince
Mm-hmm.
yourself something is right, then then if you convince something's right, and then it is, you know, it's very volatile, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely convinced with the argument that, oh, it's because I wanted to do that. I want to believe this way. I want to live this certain life for me. And that can be very positive in certain aspects. But in terms of morality, this train of thought could be like really dangerous. For example, look at Nazi Germany. That was a group of people, very evil people, doing very evil things, and that's an example of societal influence on people's morality. If we go along the lines of whatever we whatever society says is right and wrong. Like, that's clear evidence. Nazi Germany is clear evidence that that clearly doesn't work. You know, the Soviets, clear evidence that that doesn't work. If enough people get into power with the same mindset that is evil, that is how society collapses.
So there's be individual influence.
Yeah. So there has to be something deeper. There has to be something more, because we all, like, the vast majority of people would agree Nazis are evil. Yeah.
Right.
So there has to be something inside us, deep inside us, in which we all agree. That standard of behavior in which we all have. There has to be something there that isn't just opinion. That isn't just, oh, well, if they think it's right or if they think it's wrong. No, we all have that. We all have that black and white. This is right. This is wrong. Maybe some people's, I guess, their conscience, maybe it's a little bit quieter than other people's. But that's up to that person whether to listen to that conscience or not.
Yeah, it's another thing. People don't have to listen to their conscience.
Yeah.
You know, they can just choose not to.
Yeah.
To link the example with Ben stealing that bun with Nazi Germany, right? So Ben, you are a Nazi because of that.
Whoa.
Is what I'm saying.
Whoa. All right.
But anyway, as I was saying, so Ben he wanted the bun, but he had to figure out how he was going to get the bun. Now, Hitler
here wanted a bun.
He wanted to kill the Jews, you see.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I really, what an evil man.
He had to figure out how he was going to kill the Jews, and part of that was obviously going to be figuring out, right, how are we going to get everyone together? I don't know, let's get camps and this gas, that'd be a good idea. Whatever. But also part of that is convincing the nation to do that, and convincing himself to do that.
The higher ups.
All he had to do that was convince people that Jews weren't human, and all bets were off.
People in power becoming like him.
Yeah. So what people tend to do if they want to kill them, they just dehumanize them. That's happened.
Yeah, they take away
countless times.
They take away people's value. I took away the value when I was stealing that bun. I took away the value of obeying my parents and made it lower than my want for that bun. And I think that's maybe some kind of key to people's morality. They prioritize what they think should be, what they want, over what should. I think it's this want versus should idea.
Yeah. So that you can come from the basis of I want this, and then how am I going to work my way there? So Ben wanted the bun, and he had to figure out how he was going to justify that. But you could, I'd say you should probably go the other way around, going from the basis of what do I believe to be right or wrong.
And we learned that from a young age. I obviously clearly learned that at a young age. It's clearly something that parents teach their children, not to do this, and to do this, ask politely, manners at the table. It's all very basic stuff, but that stuff is the building blocks to who you are today and what kind of person you'll turn out to be today.
Yeah.
Not Nazis.
Yeah. So what would you say to people who maybe they're not in the best of households or something, and maybe they don't have good role models, and to that I'd say just try not to betray yourself and what we believe to be true and right, I guess. If you're put in a situation, this isn't like no matter who you are, if you're put in a situation where either you're being asked to do something, or you're in a situation where someone's telling you to do something that you think is like morally wrong, just don't do it. No matter maybe you think it's just silly or small, I maybe in hindsight maybe it may be silly or small, but that's beside the point, because we've got this thing called morality, and it needs to be respected. If if it's linked so heavily with ideas such as God, you know, such things shouldn't be taken lightly and just passed off.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say it's something that needs to be fed. A lot of people's conscience feel faded in a way because they fill their time with things that people would deem unacceptable. But if you do the opposite of that and fill your time with things that are acceptable, with things that are right, you'll have a much louder conscience and you'll feel a lot more comfortable in doing the things that are right, and you'll oppose the things that are wrong, and that's what a good person is.
So there's this Greek philosopher, Aristotle, and he had this big thing going for him. I guess his thing was he had this thing called a daemon, right? Which in that Greek sort of culture, a daemon was sort of a guiding spirit. Is pretty much like our idea of a conscience. And his thing was, no matter what, I'm gonna follow this daemon. And no matter what, even if rationally it doesn't sound like a good thing, he's just gonna follow it. So that's how he lived his life. He only did the things he thought his conscience was saying he should do, and he never did the things his conscience say he shouldn't do. And he did that to the extent of he was going to be put on trial for, I think, like corrupting the minds of the youth or something shit like that. And he could have escaped very easily. But there's his daemon, his conscience said, no, this is your time. Just don't escape. This is your time. And although that may sound insane, in hindsight, that probably was the best thing at that point. Go out with all those with what he built up behind him, instead of just withering away, fleeing from this government the rest of his days, I guess. I don't know, you could say more about that, but the main point is you should always follow your daemon, I guess, no matter what the consequences are, because I can guarantee you, at the end of the day, if you do what you believe that you should do morally, and you don't do things you think to be wrong, even small things, everyday things, I guarantee you're gonna end up in a better place. Even just like small things. What do you think about that, Ben?
What makes a good person? A good person is somebody that does the right thing no matter the consequences. That's a good person.
Well, I guess it says from good and evil, knowledge, good and evil. If God is the definition of what good is, right? We know the difference between good and evil. And if our aim is to do good, our aim is to be more like God, our ideal. And when we don't do good, when we do bad, or even if we just not even per se do bad, but just not do good, but maybe you're in a tough situation, you don't want to put yourself out there, even though if you feel that you really should, then you're not living up to that standard of ultimate goodness, I guess, which would be God, I guess, and I guess what that feeling is, if you do something you think that I should have not have done that was morally wrong, and then you feel bad about it, you feel guilty,
you make excuses.
Why do you feel bad about it? If it's because you're falling short of that ultimate ideal,
Yeah, that standard of behavior.
Yeah. Have you anything to add to that?
There's levels, I guess, of morality. There's that me as a kid stealing a bun to get obviously food because I wanted one.
Yeah.
And then you take that up a few levels you're sneaking out at night, going out drinking without your parents knowing, you know, they may be completely different things, but they're made of the same thing. They're
Yeah.
made of, I want to go against what
Right.
is right, supposedly, and do what I want to do.
You're right. I see.
Yeah.
So you're just linking it from
Yeah,
being a
yeah,
child
yeah,
to now,
And how it's
today,
made
so, yeah.
of the exact same stuff. It's, I wanted, it's selfishness. It's, I wanted the bun, I wanted to go out, have fun, you know? The right thing to do is ask parents for the bun to go out, whatever it may be, and when whatever they say is, I guess, another step. If they say no, do I go against them, or do I do the right thing and do what they say? And I guess it comes down to how it isn't really a matter of opinion.
What morality is.
Morality, yeah. A lot of people would argue that it is a matter of opinion how truth is objective. This idea of, well, if a majority of people think it's right, then it should be right, or if a majority of people think it's wrong, it should be wrong. And that's really a societal convention interfering with what it is, but that's an unstable foundation, I guess, of what humans are to build it off. And what we're going to go on to now is an answer to why we all share this one moral standard, this one moral compass, why we know what's right and what's wrong.
All right. I'm gonna read a wee passage from Genesis real quick, just as a basis to what I'm going to talk about. So Genesis 3:22. Then the Lord God said, "Behold, the man has become like one of us, in knowing good and evil. Now lest he reach out his hand and also take out the tree of life and eat of it and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he was taken. He drove out the man, and at the east of the Garden of Eden he placed the cherubim and a flaming sword that turned every way to guard the way of the tree of life." So basically Adam and Eve ate the fruit with knowledge of good and evil. They now knew the difference between good and evil, and God says now they've become like us. So what does this mean? Well, it links morality, which is knowing the difference between good and evil, with a characteristic of God that is distinctly linked to God. So, for example, we can say animals don't have a conscience. They don't have a morality necessarily. If a lion goes and kills like a sheep, whatever, we don't say that was murder. We say the lion was just wanting to get food. There's not a sense of morality that plays a part in there. So what does this mean? Another quote by Marcus Aurelius. He said, "We all have a share of the divine." So this is what makes us human. So we have a characteristic that is shared only with God. Now, it also talks about the tree of life. So I'm gonna have a thought experiment here.
Oh,
Right. God is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. What does he lack? And the answer being is limitation. God lacks limitation. So we are like gods, knowing good, the difference between good and evil. But we, as it says, we haven't ate of the tree of life. We have limitations, right? We have suffering. Life is...
there's obstacles.
Yeah, there's obstacles in life, and what is intrinsically a part of life is suffering, which is undeniable, and there's not much we can do to eradicate suffering as a whole. We can decrease poverty, but there's always gonna be suffering. So we suffer because we are limited. Now, this leads us to the Cain and Abel story. How this suffering and limitation links in with knowing good and evil, and that also makes us makes us human, I guess. So I'm gonna read a bit of Cain and Abel. Well, I can just give you the story, I guess. So Cain and Abel make sacrifices to God. Cain's sacrifice doesn't please God, and he's very, very angry with God. So because God didn't accept his sacrifice, so to get back at God, he decided, right, what would hurt me, right? And he thought, killing someone that I love dying, that would hurt me. And because he's a limited creature, he knows what hurts him, right? Because there's suffering, right? And because of his knowledge of good and evil, he can know what evil is for himself, and then if that's what evil is for himself, that could be what evil is for other people, right? So he hurt the untouchable. So he hurt God. How did he do that? He killed what he loved. He destroyed what he loved, right? And that's a distinctly human characteristic. Because we have the capacity for evil. Because we can look into ourselves, and as I said about the lion and the sheep, the lion's not thinking, well, what would hurt me? I know a big bite down in the neck would hurt me, so I'm going to do that to the sheep because I hate sheep. He's not thinking like that. But humans can think like that. Humans can torture people.
Yeah,
torture wouldn't be possible if we didn't know what hurt us.
I would agree.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
It's not like someone's run the list of things that can be done on a human.
Yeah.
To cause most pain. It's like, well, we'll try hugs. And then the next on the list is
kicks.
Is punching them in the face. This is what hurts most.
Did they enjoy that? Yes. Did they enjoy the second one? Not so much.
Hard to tell. So,
I suppose it comes down to selfishness. Comes down to
what comes in selfishness.
Yeah, like, I mean, you talked about how what can I do to hurt God? What can I do to hurt other people? The other side of that is what can I do to make me feel good? Like Cain obviously is so angry, and what he felt like he could let his anger out on was hurting his brother, hurting his family, hurting God.
Yeah.
And what I want to know is what the heck was going through his head. Like, to be so angry, to ruin
envy.
everything for you. Yeah, envy, jealousy. And remember I talked about levels, from stealing a bun to going out when you're not meant to go out past curfew, and then going straight up to flipping doing what Cain did and murdering a brother. See, where does it stop? That's what I want to know. Like, yes, we all got levels of morality, I guess. I mean, some people may be more lenient with right and wrong than other people, but there is still a clear line, and we would all agree, hopefully, that killing your brother is wrong. But what I'm trying to say is, where is it that society draws that line? Because if the more people start agreeing that bad things are right, society has no choice but to convene in that. So what I want to know is, where is the answer to that? And also to warn people to be careful with the voice that they have and the actions that they do. Because who you are today is because of a series of yeses and nos that you did in the past. Who you are today is who your past shaped. So I just want to, I guess, spread awareness of, like, be mindful of what you do today, be it good or bad. But whatever you do, that affects who you are in the future. Look what Cain did. It completely devastated the family. It was not favourable with God. He murdered his brother. It was a complete disaster for Cain. And it's a fantastic warning, I think, that God gives us. Like, this is the this is what happens with anger, with envy, with jealousy, and I mean, like, and people don't see that much, you know. People don't see that their actions, no matter how, oh, I just want fun, or no matter how, you know, how much of an excuse they can give, it still ends up hurting people. That's why God gives us a conscience. That's why God gives us a fine line between right and wrong, not just for our own protection, for the protection of His people in which He loves. And to sever that and to damage that is a blatant insult to Him, a blatant insult to His creation. What are you laughing at?
Nothing. So, what is there anything else you want to say there?
No, just that.
Just want to amplify, because we're all human, and because
I mean, we are flawed.
Part of being human is being flawed, but also part of being human is having a moral compass, right? And because we have that, it makes our actions very powerful.
Yeah.
You know, because if a man can hurt the so-called untouchable, you know, what else can man do with just those things? Just knowing the difference between right and wrong. You know, so just take into consideration. You know, if you feel like something you're gonna do is wrong, you know,
don't do it.
yeah, I know. You can say that. You can say, oh well, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you just watch yourself, you know, you'll find out. And like, you don't do what you tell yourself, and you don't do what you'd think would be good.
But like, we're all guilty of this. But I think that's the fantastic thing about God. He's a God of second chances. You know, like, we're all guilty of crossing that line. We're all guilty of crossing that line. We're all guilty of damaging that moral compass that has been given to us, and we've already discussed how we all have that shared moral compass. And it honestly scares me a bit that, you know, people do seem to be going consequence free. I mean, it's just, you know, where I guess the line gets further and further away from what is right, in my opinion anyway. And it's just understanding what God's going to do next, I guess.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm just gonna say, like, follow your conscience. So that consists of episode 1.
Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully it made sense.
Of what we called
accessory to thought.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope you have a good day. Goodbye.
Goodbye.